Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Riker, the season's just around the corner, and we're breaking down some hot takes heading into the Toronto Raptors 2018-2019 season.
Indeed. Let's hear them.
Yeah, so we have a scale happening, just a regular scale, 1 through 5, 1 being a colder take than DeMar Carroll in a playoff game, and 5 being hotter than something that's crazy hot, the sun. Couldn't think of anything cool off the cuff. So we're just going to get straight into it. The first one is, do you think that Delon Wright could start at the shooting guard next season?
At any given point?
By the end of next year. No, he'll be our starting two guard.
Come playoff time.
Come playoff time.
Yes. Wait, we need to put it into the number.
I think that
this is probably a 2.
A 2?
A 2. This is pretty cold. It's
a
not
cold
a hot take. Yeah, it's a cold take.
Okay.
But the reason is I think that there's not a lot of certainty with the shooting guard position, and I think that Delon Wright has probably the best skill set, I think, if he can develop a jump shot to become the starting shooting guard. I mean, we have Danny Green, who's becoming more aged and less athletic, and I think that Delon Wright brings a lot of length. He brings good, I mean, his IQ is sometimes questionable, but I think that was with youth and inexperience in the league. But I think he has some great handling abilities. He has good athleticism, and if he can develop a jump shot more consistently, then he would fit the mold of a starting shooting guard probably better than anybody else on the team.
Okay. I'm putting it closer. I'm putting it at a 3.5 on the hotness scale.
Okay.
So if you look at the people that he's competing with, really, it's Danny Green and maybe running OG Anunoby at the 2 guard. I think those are the 2 guys. Maybe Norman Powell. Norman Powell is kind of an enigma. If he can be Norm God, we're not going to get into him on this pod, but he's also there. But him and Danny Green kind of have similar stats last season. 8 points per game, 3 assists for Delon, and 3 rebounds for Delon Wright, and 8.6 points for Danny Green. More rebounds for Danny, 3.6, but less assists. So they're around in the box score counting stats. They're very similar. Danny Green is a bit of a better defender, right? Can lock down people, and he was also injured last year, but he's been an all-NBA defensive player, has a kind of a cleaner three-point shot, but Delon is a much better slasher and playmaker. But do you think that Nick Nurse would rather run with an experienced Danny Green or, more youthful slasher creator Delon Wright?
Honestly, I think he would probably rather the more creative slasher Delon Wright, younger. If the stats were comparative, then it's much more likely that Delon will be able to increase his stats line, where Danny Green will only regress, if anything. It's not like he's not developing into a player now. He is the player that he's going to be for the rest of his career, and will just fizzle out at some point. I see what you're saying in terms of having a little bit more certainty, but the question was, what will can Delon Wright be the starting shooting guard towards the end of the season? So he has an entire season to prove himself, whereas Danny Green only has, an entire season to just fend off Delon Wright, I guess you could say, right? He has no more potential to give. So I think that it makes more sense if, you look at the entire 82 games, that if Delon Wright improves, that he probably will be the starting shooting guard.
Yeah. Especially I think the key for Delon getting that position is developing that 3-point shot, because obviously you want floor spacers in your starting lineup. But the reason I put that 0.5, that extra 0.5 in there, is for OG Anunoby. Obviously OG is more of a 3-4 type player, but he might be so good and show so much potential that he might be tough to keep on the bench, as he was our starting 3 last year, but that's Kawhi Leonard's position for sure next season.
Yeah, true. Well, we'll see. All right, next take.
The next take. All right, we're getting progressively hotter. Jonas Valančiūnas will be an all-star this season.
Yeah, that's a 5 for me. That's a huge hot.
A 5. Yeah. A 5. Okay.
Of course.
We're at the sun. We're at
the sun. It's not going to happen. That's for sure. We have.
Okay.
I mean, the spots on the actual All-Star team are limited. If we look at the Eastern Conference, you have Joel Embiid. Dwight Howard is now over on the Washington Wizards, and I think that this is probably the best situation for him to actually be a little bit more recognized now as a legitimate center. I mean, of course, it's very uncertain, but he usually puts up good stats, and that can't be, ignored.
Okay.
We have a guy like Al Horford, who probably will again be a center, even though he doesn't have amazing box score stats because the team is good. But, I just don't see Jonas Valančiūnas. Despite him improving, I don't think that the perception of Jonas Valančiūnas is good enough to get him votes to be in the part of any rotation. Even if there was 2 All-Star teams in the East, I don't know if he would be on it.
Okay, I'm putting it at a 4.
Okay.
I'm saying there's a chance. It could definitely be possible. If you look at the All-Star roster from last season, you have Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, obviously Joel Embiid's going to still be there, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. Those were the big men that came out of the East last year. I think Kevin Love will stay there, especially because the Cavs gave him all that money and they're building around them. But Al Horford, if you compare Al Horford and Jonas Valančiūnas' stats last year, and Jonas is much younger as well, Jonas averaged 12 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 8 rebounds. Al Horford, he beats him on the assists by a substantial amount, but he averaged 13 points and 7 rebounds. So box score, statistics, Al Horford averaged 2 more assists. But box score statistics, they're very comparable. And I think if the Toronto Raptors make the first seed over the Boston Celtics, that the league might be more inclined to give more All-Stars to the Raptors than Boston. So they might look at Jonas, and if he has a strong season this year, especially with his 3-point shot improving, I think he might have a shot to beat out Al Horford. And then you look at another guy that was on the team last year, Andre Drummond. He currently has Dwayne Casey as the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. Casey's a great coach, builds great team fundamentals. He'll definitely improve the Pistons next season, but he really doesn't like running things through centers. So I don't see Andre Drummond having a big statistical season next year. And Kristaps Porzingis was on the team last year. He has a torn ACL. He won't be there next year. I think there's a lot of possible openings for Jonas. If he can make an improvement this season, could definitely sneak his way in there. Yeah. And we have Nick Nurse as head coach. Nick Nurse loves Jonas Valančiūnas, wants to get him involved, so I think he might have a shot.
Wow. And you're putting it at a 4. I mean, this you're making an argument as if you're thinking this is not even a hot take at all.
I don't know. I think because obviously Jonas would need to improve, right? Yeah. So I'm saying the improvement for Jonas to be considered is at a 3, right? That extra point is actually sneaking his way in there.
True.
It's definitely probably not going to happen, but I'm saying there's a chance. I don't think it's out of the equation.
Definitely, probably. Love it. All right, next take.
The next hot take, the Toronto Raptors will have the number 1 defense in the league next season.
Yeah, it's a good point to consider. I don't think that is extremely hot. That's maybe a 2 as well.
Ooh.
I think that's a cold take because the Raptors have always been a very consistent team. I'm stumbling for my words here, but they've always consistently had solid team defensive performances throughout the season, and I think that with the addition of Kawhi Leonard and the addition of Danny Green, they're only making their team better. With the possibility maybe of introducing Jimmy Butler to the roster, I mean, however unlikely that is, then I think it would almost be a sure thing. But if you can get commitment from all of the guys in the same level of intensity that they played with last year, especially from the bench mob, and hold teams to under 100 points per game, I think it's very possible that the Raptors could be the number 1 defense in the league, if not top 5.
Yeah, I think we were top 5 defense in the NBA last year. I think the Raptors have brought in a lot of defensive personnel that is very strong, and I'm putting it at a 1, brother. I'm saying this is the coldest take we have.
Oh.
Because the Toronto Raptors, as I mentioned, top 5 defense last year, brought in the best defensive player in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard is now running the wings instead of DeMar DeRozan. All those minutes that DeMar DeRozan had on the court is now being replaced with the best defender in the NBA. We also brought in Danny Green, who has been a top all-defensive player. Right, Delon Wright's only going to get better. Pascal Siakam has always been crazy athletic, able to get those blocks, highlight defense, but he's learning the game even more so now. Jonas took a step forward on defense last season. I just think our personnel, on top of OG Anunoby, clamp God. I think just the personnel that we have is going to put us over the top. Go ahead. The one thing that might be a bit of an issue is how much of the defense was affected by Dwayne Casey, and how will Nick Nurse's new defensive system change the sort of things the Raptors do. But Nick Nurse apparently is known, despite him changing the Toronto Raptors offense, has been known as a defensive coach. That's what people regard Nick Nurse as. So I'm putting it at a 1.
No, that's a good point. And this is another good thing to consider, is that the Raptors were traditionally, torched by one player. They can't stop Bradley Beal in the playoffs, so they can't stop LeBron James. And if we have now 2 defensive stoppers, really, if you want to consider OG's improvement that he'll probably have in making defensive strides, that really they should limit the impact of a star player, a star opponent, and then, have an even better team defense. So it definitely is the coldest take. 2 for me, 1 for you. Let's continue. Next take.
Okay. The next hot take, OG Anunoby averaging over 15 points per game next season. What do you say?
I'll let you start because I haven't processed this yet.
OG Anunoby averaging over 15 points per game?
Yep.
I'm putting it
Yeah.
I'm putting it at 2. I'm putting it at 2. This might be my hottest prediction, but obviously we brought in Kawhi Leonard. We have more wing depth this season, but I just see OG Anunoby taking a step forward, right? If you look at a guy like Jaylen Brown last season, right? You look at his jump from his rookie year to his second year. He was a guy that's very similar to OG coming to the league. Has a defensive calling card, wasn't great at ball handling, but could shoot the 3 and play defense, and wasn't a phenomenal slasher or ball handler. Right? Once they learn, these types of players learn how to dribble and learn how to finish around the rim, that's when their scoring averages go up significantly. And I think if OG can develop those skills this summer, he's working out with Michael Lancaster, who had those infamous training videos back in 2008. He was working with him this summer. If OG Anunoby can come into this season with a tighter handle, an ability to create plays just off the dribble, finishing around the rim, on top of his improved 3-point game, I think it's completely realistic to think that OG could average over 15 points per game, despite the addition of Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. I'm putting this at a 4.5. Almost impossible.
Whoa.
Almost impossible.
Okay.
One, I don't think that OG is the offensive player that you are, touting him to be. I think that he's going to need to make beyond significant improvements in his ball handling in order to, be able to get to the point where he's able to average 15 points per game. And I don't think that improvement will happen in only one offseason, despite, your comparison to Jaylen Brown. But I also think that Kawhi Leonard is going to have to be a 25-point per game or more player. I think Kyle Lowry will have to average 15 points per game or more. I think Jonas Valančiūnas should ideally average 15 points per game or more. I think at this point, you put in the bench mob, and they're going to get however many points. I don't think that there's enough shots that OG is going to get per game to be able to have each game 15 points. I think he'll maybe be a 10-point per game player, but I would put my money on even less than that.
I don't know. OG Anunoby coming in. I think he just has those raw skills, that raw talent, that basketball that'll get him on the court, get him touches. And now if our offense, because DeMar DeRozan took a lot of shots. I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to shoot as many shots as DeMar DeRozan did last year, right? The ball is going to flow, right? I think it's realistic, and it might be my hottest take, but I think it's realistic with the ball moving and OG gaining the trust of those star players, right? And maybe being the top guy off the bench, being that burst of energy. I think he could realistically average over 15 points per game.
But how's he going to score? What do you foresee the offense flowing? How do you foresee the offense flowing through OG Anunoby?
Well, getting the ball, right? If you look at DeMar Carroll back when he was with the Atlanta Hawks, right? He got a lot of buckets just off cuts, the ball going straight to him. He probably got 10 points per game just off those types of plays, right? People creating baskets for OG Anunoby. I think Kawhi Leonard, the increased talent level we have on the roster will get OG at least 8 to 10 points per game right now, just easy buckets. Then if he can develop that handle and create some shots for himself, I think we could really see a huge step forward in the scoring category for OG next season. Right. And he's going to get on the court, just his defensive ability alone, right? Whether he takes a step forward offensively that I'm hoping he takes, he's going to be on the court enough to get those points, whether he gets them or not. He's going to have that time just because of his defensive impact.
Yeah, of course. Okay, it's interesting. I would rate your rating of this hot take as the hottest take. So a couple of layers to this conversation here, but we have one more. We have one more. We have one more take.
We have one more take.
All right,
the wildest of them all. The Toronto Raptors upset the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, obviously a 5. There's no possibility that any team is going to beat the Golden State Warriors. Doesn't matter if it's the Houston Rockets or the Los Angeles Lakers or the OKC Thunder, the Boston Celtics, the 76ers, the Toronto Raptors. No team is going to come even close to taking 2 games off of Golden State Warriors, let alone 1. I would say it's a surefire thing for the Warriors to sweep whoever they face in the finals. Unfortunately, as a subjective Raptors fan, we would like to think that if they do make it to the finals, which they should this season, assuming Kawhi Leonard plays well, that they would have a chance. But I just don't think that this super team could be even possibly challenged by even the second best team in the league. I think that there's too many pieces. They have too many all-stars. They have too much of a solid coach and sort of strategy now on how to beat teams. I don't think that there's a possible chance for anybody else to take any games off of them.
Okay. So for context, the Golden State Warriors they were, one of the best teams of all time last season, and they just added DeMarcus Cousins. So it's completely reasonable for you to argue it being a 5, right? You made some great points there, right? But I'm saying 4. I'm saying we have a chance. Just like Jonas being an all-star, I think we have a chance. Kawhi Leonard if you look at that one game the Spurs had against the Kevin Durant-led Golden State Warriors, they were up by 30 at halftime. I think Kawhi Leonard could be the possible kryptonite to the Golden State Warriors, and he's gonna, if he isn't that, he's gonna negate a lot of what Kevin Durant does. Him and Kawhi will be able to guard each other because Kawhi is one of the best defenders in the NBA. I think he'll be able to be a 1-for-1 with Kevin Durant. Steph Curry in the finals has never been shown to perform super well, right? He's kind of taken a step back. 2015, he was okay. It was Andre Iguodala and Draymond that really stepped up. So I think if Kyle Lowry is healthy, because he's shown to perform on the big stage Kyle Lowry has when he's healthy. If Lowry's healthy, he could be a decent 1-for-1 with Curry. Maybe finals Curry gets a little edge, but a playoff, primed, ready to go Lowry, I think could be key. But the area where we get the big edge, right, which might be the most not blatant thing, but Jonas Valančiūnas, whenever he plays against DeMarcus Cousins, absolutely owns him. Right? Whenever we played the Pelicans, and even though we used to lose to the Kings a lot, whenever Jonas played against DeMarcus Cousins, he owned him. Right? He'd be shutting him down on defense, force Boogie to shoot about 7-8 threes. I think Jonas Valančiūnas, just off the probably 6 games he's played against him in the past 3 years, I'm saying that he's going to shut down Boogie on the final stage. OG Anunoby, Pascal are going to come in and take out all the role players on Golden State. Fred is going to hit a bunch of threes, and we're winning the NBA championship. With my 4 hot take.
You could write a nice fantasy novel about that, I think.
Just imagine on the big stage, Jonas swatting Boogie Cousins, Game 5 of the finals. And the
so
Raptors,
you're saying that Jonas Valančiūnas is the MVP, the finals MVP of 2018-2019.
When he's locking up Boogie, right? And then we have Danny Green not letting Klay Thompson shoot. I'm saying it's an easy chip.
Nice.
That might be the hottest one, despite the OG. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. We had some crazy things. Let us know your hot takes as well. What do you think is something that might be possible happening into next season? You're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram. The Instagram is getting... We're amping that up. We're making it look more professional and all that. So definitely recommend checking that out. You're the best for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.